everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fujoshi Commentary, your go-to place for anime and manga and yaoi facts, recommendations, and reviews, all done by yours truly. Today I'm going to review an anime that sadly a lot of people don't really know, and it's not really common and popularized in the anime community. However, that doesn't stop it from having all the spunk, charisma, and storyline of an above and beyond anime plotline that's going to last for generations, in my opinion. Now, before I get started on this review, I gotta warn you, this analysis will be giving away potential plot details, so just so you're warned beforehand, there will be a section of spoilers, and I mean real life, full frontal spoilers! I will indeed give you the option to skip over, or to click off the video at that point, depending on when I actually start putting the spoilers in, but you will know beforehand, and I will make sure that it is said in the video right before I start the spoilers. So before I get into the good and bad things that I really love about this anime and really kinda just irks my nerves about it, I want to go into a background sort of synopsis, just to give you guys a certain background on the anime, when it was made, and who's responsible for making it. For those unfamiliar, Hikai J is an anime production created by Akane Kazuki, the same man who directed Code Geass and Escaflowne, which you can definitely see the references in some of the characters for Escaflowne. I'm not joking. Some of these are like identical, literally borrowed characters in some regards. The original anime aired in 2002 by Bandai and TBS, and the license was by Genian Entertainment. It was original run in Japan, basically highlights the twink investigator Daisuke Aurora of the Special Forces Unit in the city of Judo and his android partner, old Bareback J. They are so not gay. So basically, the series highlights the different crimes they investigate in Judo, which is the town they live in, and the street of Kabuki Road. Like, the influences in this anime are just unparalleled to both Eastern and Western life. As well as some of the new characters he befriends along the way. He has like enemies, allies, frenemies. They're all basically alike, and it basically highlights the day-to-day lives of Judo. Now, they're always sniffing out crimes and shit with, like, literally 4 bullets per mission, and I'm pretty sure that got lower by the end of the anime by, like, 2 or 1 bullets. And they're basically just fighting all that crime and corruption that's plaguing their good old city of Judo and that old trusty road, Kabuki Road. Basically trying to fight crime in impoverished nations and interacting with the people who already have a sort of mistrust for the police. Gee willikers! That sounds pretty darn familiar. It sounds a little relatable to our current situation. Obscure animes are always the best when it comes to storytelling. Now, in regards to the plot, this anime offers both frame narratives and personal narratives, with those circumstances from both Daisuke and his older brother Shun for reasons of getting into state jobs and striving to complete their missions for the city. I also really love the contrast between Daisuke and his older brother Shun. While Shun is more of the conscious of the world around him, stay woke as fuck because you know you're gonna get anal because of your traumatic past, and it's pretty much depicted more of a serious character with a sort of standoffish kind of aloof attitude than Daisuke, because, you know, when you see shit, you pretty much just have a skewed perception of the world around you, and it's hard to get it out. Now, in regards to this, he sort of has this way about him because of the fact that Shun saw his father be murdered by an android at like the age of like 8. And that's pretty fucking dramatic for a child to go through at such a young age. So obviously he has a lot of like bitterness and anger that Daisuke, of course, was far too young to understand because 1, he was shielded from the cannon fodder, and 2, he simply did not see what was going on and just has more of that upbeat personality and sort of this will to forgive, which I really can understand and relate to. Now, I love the way both brothers are written in contrast to one another, as I explained earlier, and they have more realistic standards in this anime in regards to the plot device and how the emotions of their past and the present emotions they have now kind of dictate to the plot line of the story. From the abandonment of their mother, who is later to be revealed as pretty high royalty in the standard of this timeline in Judo, to the sudden assassination of their father. You know, each brother had to kind of be there for each other, as Shun being more of the grounded, mature one, and Daisuke kind of seeming more mature than Shun, especially towards the end, with his sort of just like happy-go-lucky, I forgive you, you have to learn to forgive and forget kind of nature that just kind of warms Shun's heart a little bit, if not a lot. So for anyone who wants to stop watching at this point, here is the time link as to when you can skip to, and here is also the spoiler warning shield. Okay, so now in regards to Daisuke and his relationships with the supporting characters. Now while I love and hate his kind of chill and easygoing, sort of Spike Spiegel, jazzy lounge attitude towards the people he meets, regardless of their background and regardless if they're supposed to be more of the villain or the ally in the story, I will say one thing that I do 100% admire about him is the contrast relationships he makes and maintains with his android partner, which he doesn't even see as in just android Jay, and how Jay is programmed to be spontaneous. So all these feelings Jay has for Daisuke, not yaoi intended, is that he basically just goes in and is pretty much relatable and protects Daisuke as though he were his best friend. So for those who don't know, in the story, Jay is basically a spontaneously personality-based android. He's about one of the only androids that are certified to work under the city and the special units force with Daisuke. Now, of course, he is more than a well-capable employee, but of course, after the assassination of Daisuke and Shun's father, they had proposed a rule to ban all androids from being produced and smuggled and whatever through the city of Judo. So technically, Jay is pretty special. One of the other unique things about Jay is that Jay is pretty much manufactured to be independently wired, meaning he doesn't have a sort of specific programming that any other android would have. He's not robotic. He's meant to be more human, so his interactions and his sort of instincts happen as is in the present self, so it happens on the spot just like a human would. Now, in regards to his sort of instincts as a weapon, it is still wired to be protective and to serve, like an officer or like an android being commanded by his master. But even when, at the end of the season, Shun had designed him to kill, he still fought back and resisted because of the more human wiring in him to protect his friends, and he couldn't bring himself to kill Daisuke. It's all unpredictable. Everything is unpredictable in this anime. Even the antagonists in the anime and their particular actions and their personality traits, such as the lovable Bosch shonen fuckboy Claire Leonelli, are off the charts, and it's just a spontaneous jump to jump of unwarranted and raw emotions. As you see throughout the anime, the plot twists in the anime are pretty good, and even Daisuke's unwavering shonen protagonist personality, while normally I'd find it pretty damn annoying, as I would with most shonen types, even with one of my favorite animes, One Piece, and Luffy's sort of shonen-esque. He's not super gullible and super unaware of the world and just like, I'm gonna go get this. He still has the mindset to go. He's just like, he kind of rides the boat and the waves And he does know he will be protected by Jay eventually. I actually personally find his whole demeanor and personality to be sort of a vital component to the plot and its climax and conclusion. Even Daisuke's interactions and capture with Claire Leonelli, who's the head of the Leonelli family, mobster-esque sort of Yakuza type, you'd think because that Daisuke is a cop and Claire is a gangster that they would clash like hell, which initially they did. But in Rizu, after Claire put him through hell and back, at least that's what Claire thought he was going to do, he saw how Daisuke had his whole resolve and how he stayed calm even under the influence of what Claire thought was a pretty stable plan. And he sort of respected him for it, and they even ended up standing side by side in battle for the Battle of Judo. I also found it particularly interesting that in the end of the show, when Shun completely just turns on his entire government system to dictate and basically coup d'etat it from the inside out with a couple of his subordinates, he actually kind of reflects onto Lelouch v. Britannia's whole persona, and you see that influence there, but it's still in its own right. And you can just see how the years and years of just living through his mother, who was a celestial being, having to leave their family because she was of royalty and it was forbidden for her to be with those filthy normies, humans, and the fact that his father was killed by an android just kind of proves that it all just went to him because he didn't know how to express himself in the proper way. So I find it very, very interesting. The plot twist wasn't cheesy, it wasn't just completely like, oh my gosh, really? I saw that totally coming. It actually really will shock you, seeing as though, and when the plot builds and things like that, it constantly keeps you on your toes, and I love it. Moving on to the music. Okay, so I love the opening. The opening is just so raw, the vocals are clean, it's literally like it's 2009 all over again. Like, Triforce reminds me so much of the first Naruto Shippuden opening. I don't know if it's good to say that or not, but it really does remind me. It's sort of in a way that it just hypes you up and it gets you ready and it really encourages you. Now, those vocals really do align with this anime and its main theme and its whole cause. It's called Face, and it literally is saying that you really have to find a reason and reach for it. Go, go, go. And it's just so amazing, and it really just blew me away. And I usually don't listen to openings of animes consistently throughout the season. I'll skip it. But with this particular anime, I just had to listen to it pretty much every single episode. And it's basically if Shia LaBeouf had his own band and he promoted it in his Just Do It video. That is basically what I could see. And they're Japanese in the early 2000s. Now, as far as the endings go, I enjoyed both endings, but I enjoyed the second ending more than I enjoyed the first. The first ending, while it's still good in its right with the kind of rock and roll tunes as it highlights Daisuke's journey as an officer on his very infamous and very sexy motorcycle, I like the second ending more because the ending was more of a caressing to your eardrums, as it highlights Kyoko's sort of coming of age and her sort of light within her, which really just shows that Kyoko and Daisuke have that burning light in their soul, and it just kind of illuminates. But it's a little more for Kyoko because she got a little more spotlight in those recent episodes towards the end. The entire OHS in general has a stellar and pretty catchy soundtrack that automatically hits you in the first 5 minutes of the first episode. Like, just take a clip of this. From the whole gangsters and mobster vibes to a celestial number to guide you into the underground city. This whole soundtrack just blows you away, and I recommend getting the official OHS, or at least getting the DVD, or at least streaming it online, because this anime is just stellar when it comes to music. It's one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, and I love it. One of the things that I would consider a con was that the relationship between Kyoko and Daisuke. Oh my gosh, no. The plot lines and writing for that relationship just doesn't seem really good. At the end, it's pretty much implied that Kyoko and Daisuke are a couple, but there was no in-between to imply that they had any sort of romantic relationship. Now, I know most of us are used to this sort of blatant, yes, this is love sort of narrative, and I know that some anime, especially these with obscurity and such calculated material like this anime, would kind of make things mysterious, like this with the relationship that Kyoko and Daisuke have this weird sort of love-hate relationship going on, or they simply came of age and understood each other's feelings and admired the contrasting personalities within each other. But there was no implication of that in the anime. The closest thing I saw Kyoko do for Daisuke is when she went out to save him at the Leonelli mansion and casino, but that's pretty much it. And there was really no kiss, no love making. I mean, there was no sort of relationship that just made it certain. It was kind of a Legend of Korra syndrome. When you see Korra and Asami, all of a sudden they're a couple now, so I guess this is what's going on, but there was no real writing behind it. It was just kind of like, hey, two main characters, let's put them together. It was kind of like a bad, just random ship they kind of threw in the end to say, hey, we got a little bit of romance. I just felt like that was just a little too forced, especially in an anime that had so much promise and it didn't really focus on relationships to begin with. The other thing I noticed that kind of annoyed me was particularly this character, Antonia Bellucci. She is the creator of Jay's programming software and the in total inspiration and just the love of Jay that he received before Daisuke became his partner. Now, Antonia is very sweet and seems pretty decent in the anime, and her character development is something that really kind of tenders to the anime, especially later in the series. But in the beginning, I hated her. I thought she was so aggravating. Like, she would come in and she cared so much for Jay, which I now realize was really just based on her backstory and how close Jay was to her and her love of science and her father and everything. It was just so annoying how she would completely disregard the people who were in the room, and she would cater to Jay, or she would scold Daisuke because he had to do his job. Jay was going to get hurt. He is an android that has to work under a police force. They have to get injured at some points. And it seemed more like she cared more about Jay, an android who could get his parts replaced, than Daisuke, who is a human and not so much could get his parts replaced. So I didn't really like the narrative she spoke there in the beginning, but afterwards I got over it because she's just really cares for Jay, and that's her precious creation. It's like if we had something that we held dear to us and that we created and we had grown accustomed and close to. Of course, naturally, we would feel that we need to protect it and get very defensive if we are using it, even if it is supposed to be for someone else, but we are closely monitoring it. Now, in regards to my final thoughts on this anime overall, this anime is truly unique, unlike most of the anime I've watched. The story has a raw originality to it, and the music is orgasmic. The characters, both minor and major, play a huge role in their dynamic and spontaneous personalities that both assist the moving of the plot into an amazing direction and contrast to the individuality of each character from several different side episodes. From Eduardo's harsh, no-nonsense exterior as being a detective with a low-paying job, trying to make ends meet as he serves and protects the people of Judo, to his compassionate and sentimental side to those he deems family or very important to him, and also to the subtle maturity of Shun's sorrowful and almost vengeful nature towards his past, and the very system that he manages kind of just ironically twists and warps his mind so that he can control it from the inside out as he feels betrayed betrayed by it. Even the antagonists in the show themselves are in a yin-yang sort of light, where they have a darkness to them, but also a light that brings into a specific moral grounding. Overall, I give this anime a solid 8 out of 10 for its amazing central plot and thematic elements. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this video to be entertaining or informative, feel free to give it a like. If not, dislikes are fine too. If you like more yaoi, anime, and manga videos, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I try to put out at least 2 videos every week. So until next time guys, peace, love, and stay grooving humans. Bye!